Welcome to Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Hello, everyone. This is Roger Chen, and I am from University of San Francisco Center for Business Studies and Innovation in Asia Pacific. And Dr. Liu, welcome to our interview program, and we want to thank you for supporting us. Would you please briefly introduce yourself?
Thank you, Roger. It's an honor to be invited to this forum. I do think what you do is very important to really record the stories of Asian American entrepreneurs, scientists, technologists for their contribution to the world. So thank you. Myself, my education background is that I got my college education from Beijing University in cell biology and genetics. And then I got my PhD degree in biochemistry and molecular biology from Berkeley, from Cal. My professional history is that after my PhD, I worked at a biotech company called Chiron, which got acquired by Novartis 10 years later for $10 billion. That is back in 2006. So at Chiron, I worked in the oncology novel drug discovery group. And so after the acquisition, I started a new career. So I founded the company Eureka Therapeutics, which is now a clinical stage company developing cancer immunotherapy treatment for multiple cancers.
How to translate vision into product? What is important?
That's a business reality.
Yeah.
What do you do if you look at the history, the journey to translate your aspiration into real product, the very first real product? Because I think that's a very important question for many entrepreneurs to answer. How do you translate your vision into a concrete first real product? What's the lesson? What's the journey there?
What's the lesson? I think is that you really have to have a clear goal. What is it? Is to develop a better drug, right? I think that is key. And everything else, science, all the science and technology is to serve that purpose. I think many people are too obsessed, so into their little technology or science. So I tell you the story is that, so as you know, cancer is we focus on oncology, and we want to develop innovative new treatment or new drugs. That means your drug has to be better than all the drugs in history. Right? That's the promise. Then the in my mind, I have to say, we have to really keep our eye on what's new, what's the latest science, what is the latest technology that we can integrate into a new novel cancer treatment. So that was, I think, the very important thing. You have to have a big picture, a guiding principle towards that. Lots of people, I see youngsters start a company, of course, they build a company, start with some technology. Then they almost say, you get a gun, then you find what you can shoot. Then they try to, I can use this technology for A, B, C, D, E. But each of them you probably can help like 10%, 20%. In the end, you don't end up with a real product. So with that, so we don't get hung up on any technology we have. I say finding the better drug, that's the goal. And hey, of course, you start from a technology, but anything missing, you have to continue improving and building and incorporating new technologies so that you can build your cancer product. So that's kind of like, first of all, this is kind of a guiding principle. Then specifically is two events that really changed our path. One is that in a conversation with a very prominent scientist in New York City, Dr. David Scheinberg at the Memorial Sloan Cancer Center, he's one of the America's top 100 doctors, the best doctors. When we're chatting together, we say, what is the biggest problem right now in cancer? Is you want to have a specific drug, right? A drug that can kill specifically the cancer cells. But most of the markers or the targets are not really tumor specific, right? Then say, hey, where are the tumor specific targets? Oh, we say that's because they're inside the cancer cells. Right? And then the current technology really cannot take advantage of that, these targets, because they're hidden inside the cancer cells. But the technology today can only see outside of the cancer cells. And one thing you tell us, say, hey, then we need to develop a technology that can enable us to look inside the cancer cells. That's probably the best way for us to distinguish a cancer cell from a normal cell, so we can kill the cancer cell specifically. That was the Eureka moment, the first Eureka moment. Then, story short, we developed the technology. Then we published the paper in Nature and Science. Then that is our first product. And now it's actually later on, BioCentury, the leading industrial journal in our field, wrote the front page article called Eureka Moment.
Wow.
Targeting intracellular tumor antigens. So that is that you have to keep an open mind and then focus on developing technologies that is to serve a goal, is to find a better drug instead of the other way around.
I think that's a very, very kind of a wise or great kind of advice. You got, you focus on the goal, but the journey might change.
Yes.
But as long as you focus on the goal, the technology probably just it will naturally will come up, right? I think that's a very, very good advice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
How to survive when VC funding dries up in crisis time.
Because your company has been around for, since 2006, right? For, quite a few years. So looking at your product expansion history over the years, what kind of a strategy do you follow when your company kind of expand your products and also the lessons in this product expansion journey?
So yes, that's actually very to the point. I mean, actually, our first crisis we suffered is 2008 financial crisis. And by then, I started the company in 2006. That is like first 2 years we're sponsored and supported by VC investment. I said thanks to the support of Sandy Chow, the Acorn Campus Venture give us some money. But financial crisis hit from 2008 to 2014, 6 years. As you know, the whole market shut down. You can't raise money. There's no VC money you can raise. And so what we did is that during those 6 years, we didn't raise a single dollar of VC money.
Wow.
But we still survived and developed all the key core technologies and the product line from those 6 years by actually generating revenues ourselves, self-support, the research and development. So at the time, 2008, we said, oh, shit, there's a financial crisis, there's no money, you can't raise money. But I said, we're not shutting the door, we're not closing. What you can do is, hey, what do we have? We have good technologies. At the time, we didn't have products, but we have technologies. So we said, hey, how about we leverage the technology to generate revenues? So long story short, by end of the 2014, we totally, as a small company, we have around 10 people then, we generated a total of $20 million revenue.
Oh.
That's the money that sustained us through those very difficult years. And also, I said, develop our first product of is that Eureka moment that happened in 2011. So, and because of that, we'll be able to, when the market reopened, we'll be able to raise VC funding at the end of middle of 2014 and later days that turned it around. So I think it's very important for any startup companies. You can't solely say, oh, all the money, hey, I'm doing great work, I'm doing innovation. VC, you have to give me the money. Yes, I mean, there's market change, situation change. You have to be versatile. You have to be able to adapt to a changing environment. Yes.
Okay, so that's kind of because I also noticed you like this I assume you're talking about the antibody business, a product line also.
Yes, at the time was antibody. We had the antibody discovery platform.
Right.
And then we actually offered a service to big companies like Bayer, AG, big German company. They loved us. And then of course we got paid well. So the money was used to support the company and also supported our developing new technologies and our own pipeline.
Right. So actually, I do have a question later on, but I can ask right now, which is of a pivot, because actually this kind of a antibody product line during the financial crisis time clearly is fits into what we call the pivot, because the start of a company, pivot, and also seems to be it's kind of opportunistic, right? Because the company needs to survive, and you have to find a way to kind of self-finance. So do you have any kind of reflection about, dealing with the financial crisis, what we call the environment shock, and pivoting the company? Do you have any kind of lessons or wisdom to share with us about relating to that kind of experience?
I mean, I think there's lots of lessons I learned over the years. I made lots of mistakes. To me, I mean, my biggest advice to people would be, really, as an entrepreneur, you have to pay lots of attention on money. So you should raise money when you can and make money even better. And so that you have enough financial support resources to sustain you in good years and bad years. So I didn't do a good job. I'm more like a reactionary kind of guy. So when things happened, I changed. I should have learned my lesson to actually do it before the crisis hit.
Oh, that's a very valuable advice and also lesson, just to be preemptive, right?
Rather than reactive. But that's a mistake I made. I didn't do a good job.
But, actually, that's a good lesson. But, the company is still working. So the mistake is not.
We survived. So, but we could have, if hindsight is 2020. So I think, next time I want to do a better job to be preemptive.
How actually, maybe you can elaborate this a little bit further. What are the specific ways, let's say for a young entrepreneur, they say that's great advice, but do you have any kind of suggestions? What do you actually do to monitor the financial healthness and then be preemptive? Do you have any kind of a more specific kind of advice or suggestions on this?
Yes, I think it's this. So just my personal opinion, not as a criticism or critique. I think these days, entrepreneurs starting day one, I don't blame them to having big dreams. I had the same thing. But you have to be really starting from very solid things. You have to have something that truly distinguish yourself, right? If you can do that, then that's something you can offer to other people, right? So of course, in the end, you want to use that technology or capability to develop your own drug to hit it big. But you can never really use up all the capacity or technical capacity or your technology just for, biotech is like a funnel, right?
Yeah.
At most you can develop 1 or 2 or 3 drugs, that's it. But if your capability, technical capability and technology truly differentiating, you should be able to offer that help to many other drug development companies, right? So that you can help them and they help you financially. I think that's how we actually made money in those days during the 2008 crisis. So you have something that you can help other big farmers, big companies who still have money. So that's kind of my lesson or advice. Is rather than say, all I want is to develop my drug. You have to give me money. But if the money runs out, the VC money, then you're stuck, right?
Yeah. That, actually, basically, you are kind of talking about, any kind of a startup company, you need to have like a true unique value proposition that can offer value.
And the value can be, in a way, has to be able to help other people. Has to be universal, not just, I have this great idea, but it only helps my product and only works for my product. Then you're kind of is a high risk proposition, right?
Mistakes caused my company to miss major opportunities.
your company had several major moments to explore like a very new, you may also call that very risky new product ideas, right? For example, I think that, I found something from like a TCR, mimic antibody, and also liver cancer drugs, things like that. So these, for many company, these tends to be like a very risky new innovations, discoveries, let's call that.
Right.
So do you, because you have done this multiple times, do you have any kind of a wisdom or advice on how to better manage those kind of a discovery process, discovering the new opportunities, something very risky, and but it's worth exploring actually.
Right.
Maybe first you can explain to us in layman's language actually how your company discovered these major new innovations, then share with us your kind of thinking about discovering, capturing those very risky new innovation opportunities.
Thank you, Roger. I said earlier that my guiding principle is to get whatever the best technology available. If it's not there, we have to develop it to really towards the goal of developing a better drug for cancer and for a cure of cancer. So I know cancer is a complex problem, but kind of I distilled it into two major issues. One is how do you identify cancer cells? Second, how do you kill cancer cells? I put it as an X and Y axis. It's all about this. Actually, you can plot every new cancer drug progression or evolution into this 2D graph. So I mentioned earlier, my first Eureka moment is the best way to distinguish or identify cancer cells by seeing something inside the cancer cells. That's my first Eureka moment, right? It's almost like you identify a bad guy by really see through what he's thinking rather than the clothes he wears, right? That's the first one. I think, oh, great, I solved the first problem, right? Then I'm still hitting the second problem. What's the best way to kill a cancer cell? So in my early days, I used antibody to kill. Antibody has certain, tumor killing functions, cell killing functions. But then I have another Eureka moment is that I think it's around time about 2012, 2013, that I had a chance to learn a new technology called the T-cell therapy. Then I remember I was on the way back from New York to San Francisco. I had that moment, hey, T-cell is the best killing mechanism. If I can combine the two, then I solve the problem, right? I have the best tumor identification technology and has the most powerful cancer cell killing technology. These two put it together, that'll give me the best chance of, a cure of cancer. So that was the second Eureka moment. So that's what Eureka been doing in the past 10 years now. Yeah, is really our product right now in the clinic is for treating liver cancers, which combine these two new technologies. Yes, but having said that, the lesson I learned is that I should have done something simpler, and the company would be a multi-billion-dollar company now and a public company by now. It's because along the way, I actually had several opportunities to work on a much easier problem, a blood cancer, but still utilizing Eureka's instead of liver cancer. Blood cancer like leukemia or lymphoma or multiple myeloma, using Eureka's technology. And actually what we did develop the therapy for those cancers, and it worked. So, but at the time, I was so headstrong of trying to be the hero, to be the first. So we decided to out-license those easy products and focus on liver cancer. And it turned out liver cancer is a lot more challenging, a lot more difficult to deal with. And those products we out-licensed to Juno. which turned out right now it turned out to be a multi-billion-dollar asset. If I had made the decision to be more, I would say, humble, and say, let's take two-step was. Let's first develop this blood cancer drugs using our technology and achieve success. Then you can actually have more resources, more time to work on some more challenging cancers. So I missed that window, and it's actually, by now looking back, those drugs already work, proven clinically, and actually both of them turned out to be $10 billion companies or assets. So I missed that. So.
Well, that's a fascinating story, because last night when I kind of did a search at the chat GPT, actually I got the message say some cancer such as leukemia now is curable.
Yes.
So now hearing you talking about this is such a, but actually that's a great kind of inside story. Maybe give us more similar stories about your reflection. Let's kind of drive one deeper, thinking retrospectively. What kind of influenced your decision to not focus on these problems, rather focusing on much more challenging problems, the liver cancer? What's the advice to other entrepreneurs who might encounter similar situation to say, hey, this is my lesson? What prevents you to do that and focus on more difficult, challenging issues?
I think I'm more, at the time, I was too arrogant. I was too arrogant. I think
arrogant means what? When you say arrogant,
have the confidence that I found it. I can solve the liver cancer problem, which is a representative of a bigger problem. Liver, we call it solid tumors. Actually, most of tumors we know of are called solid tumors: lung cancer, breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, liver cancer. So they are more challenging than blood cancers like leukemia, lymphoma, multiple myeloma. At the time, my competing companies already working on those fields already made progress. Even though Eureka, we made similar or even actually better product than them. My arrogance is that, hey, I don't want to be a me better company. Just hey, me too. I also developed something for blood cancers. I want to be the ones that I solve the solid tumor problem. So I think it's that kind of, and also the confidence, arrogance, think that I can do it. I can do it better than anybody, and I can be the first to achieve the success against a more challenging problem in cancer. I think that is a big lesson I learned. Is that you have to have the confidence, but you can't have the arrogance. So I should have a more 1-2 step strategy instead of all-in strategy.
As a technology pioneer, how do we develop drug products?
Do you have any competition in your company? And if you do face some competition, how much of your product decisions are driven by reacting to competitors' moves or actions, or how much of your product decisions or strategy are driven by other factors? So maybe you can share with us your kind of a thinking, what kind of really influence your product decisions, whether it's by reacting to competitors or by other factors. By other factors, what are the other factors? Maybe could you elaborate on that?
Yes.
A little.
So you're gonna laugh. This just shows how arrogant I am. So, but I think I'm. This is where I believe. I think we do have competition, but we have no competitors.
Interesting. What do you mean by that?
I mean is that cancer is such a big problem. I mean, there's so much science and technology, so much research done that. So many people have different creative, smart ideas. Everybody working on those. I think in that sense, of course, we have competition. Even in our own field, the T-cell immunotherapy field, we have like another 200-300 companies trying to solve the same problem.
Wow.
So definitely we have competition. But I feel like we don't have competitors is because I think in terms of, I said, in terms of solving the fundamental problems of cancer therapy, those two, how you identify them and how to cure them, I think we're way ahead of the curve. Yeah, and because of that, and also it's also a double-edged sword because we're so single-minded on getting the best integration of the best technology to achieve the maximum cancer killing benefit, so that that we're not affected by the business side of things, all the competing companies issues. We're saying we just focus on the goal. What's the technology? What do we do to achieve the cure of cancer? I think that by itself saved us lots of time too. Of course, double-edged sword. So we sacrifice on the business side, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah. So, and also another thing is you have to, especially when you deal with a challenging problem like cancer. Cancer is changing too. So that we constantly keep an open-minded keep our eyes open on what's new. So, but how you do that? We actually created a business model to do it. So we build strategic partnerships with the top leading research centers, cancer centers in the U.S. So we maintain this collaboration with Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City, with National Cancer Institute, so that with many others, without going down the whole list. And we work together. We all saying, what is the most challenging problem now? And so because those are the best scientists, oncologists, cancer biologists. So we work together. This all keep us also connected to the cutting edge science. So I feel that's why it gives me the confidence that I think we're ahead of the curve. Where our challenge is how you can really achieve the clinical validation of your technology, of your product, and also still being able to get business returns to your investors.
How do startups work with large companies? Our lessons.
Because you say your antibody business is working with a large pharmaceutical company.
Right.
Could you share with us your kind of a wisdom or lessons of working with a large corporation as a startup company? Because this is very common these days.
Yes.
So what's your lesson, what's your advice of working with a large corporation as a startup company?
So the first thing is you have to really know the relationship. Not the person. I'm just saying you have to know what is your relationship with the big pharma. In a way, you have to see yourself. When you work with big pharma, you have to see yourself. Basically, we're a feeder. We're feeder cells, we call it. They're the master. We're just a servant. We're just servant. If you have a good technology, you are still serving the big company, the master. You're at their bell and call. You have to be, hey, you can't change. If you want their money, you have to kiss up to them. You have to do everything to make them they're happy. Right? I think that's something also I learned, but also mistakes I made. So you have to be clear of that. So what's actually make it challenging is if your goal, your dream is someday develop your own thing or your own drug, you have to really compartmentalize this too. You want to be a kisser up because you need their money, but at the same time, don't get sucked into that game because that can be comfortable after a while, right?
Oh, when you say comfortable because there's a good money?
It's good money. It's good money. And then they say, oh, yeah, just focus on doing this. Oh, no, we'll take care of the rest, But then after 5 years, you're so constant, you're not moving forward anymore because that becomes your business model. You do something so you can out-license to the big farmers, right? Then you become a supplier of either product or technology. You're not an independent company anymore.
Right. That's very good advice.
Yeah.
Maybe could you kind of go a little bit further because whether you encounter some challenges, because we know actually many cases, small startup companies facing a lot of kind of difficulties in working with the large corporations. And, you also mentioned some kind of mistakes and this learning journey. Could you kind of go further? What are the specific challenges you encountered and what mistakes do you make when you work with these large corporations?
I think things you have to say the large corporations, they control the market. They control the manufacturing. They control the product distribution channel. A small company, you pretty much they're the dominant, they're the master. You just have to accept that. You just have to accept that. And it's very hard unless you have hundreds of millions of dollars VC support. There's no way you can pass that. Build your own manufacturing, build your own commercial team, build everything. That takes too much money, too much. So for a lot of small companies, it makes more sense that you become a supplier, or I call it a small part of the big pharma, big companies' machinery, right? And you benefit. It's actually, you can focus on what you do best, is to develop technology, so optimizing it, right? Then you cash out, your company eventually gets bought by the big company, you're done, right? So I would say 95% of the business should go this route. Because that's the mainstream. Yeah, you can't, not everyone can be the disruptive, right? Because it's very hard to really disrupt the big companies' hold monopoly of the field. Yeah.
Right, that is true. But did you encounter some kind of conflicts or differences between the large corporation and startup company in terms of the culture, the process, the speed of reactions, things like that?
Absolutely. That's that kind of lesson I learned. I said my lesson I learned, I should have done a better job building partnerships with the big companies. So I didn't do it too much, is because I said, oh, they're too slow, they're too process driven, they're too big company kind of culture. It's in a conflict with my small company startup can do spirit. So I wasn't patient enough to dance with the big companies to build that relationship, That's why I'm paying a price for that. So now I have to do it myself.
Oh, I see. So when you say the lessons or the relating to this basically means you as a key leader or founder of the company need to devote more time to establish the relationship, just to kind of work around, like a dance around their process, culture.
So I think, as I said, even though in your heart, in the end, you want to get money, that's your goal, but you can't think that way. You have to be like, really, you have to see this is a relationship. Yes, they're the rich people. I'm being friends because I'll be, they're going to give me money, but you have to be treated as part of your strategy of your company, is investing resources, time, and effort, money, building that relationship, building that partnership. Yeah, you can't say, oh, it's just a way of, oh, I just want to do it so that quick and easy so I can get money from them. That would be, then the other big companies, they can see through you. They know you're not sincere. You're just using them. That's not
okay.
Yeah. So that's what that lesson I learned. I have to be truly sincere. Yes, I really going there for the relationship, for the partnership, that we are working together to develop this drug. That's the right attitude. I didn't have. I wish I had now. And then I wish I had then. So I have it now.
That's great. These are all kind of great lessons. I understand, you came with a startup mentality, and then you face this kind of master, but forced you to change, which is not that easy, right?
Yeah.
Resource allocation, revenue generating versus R&D products.
Because your dream really is become a discovery company, pioneer in killing cancer drugs. At the same time, on the business side, you have to develop a product that generates revenues, which has a very different, maybe even culture, right? So how do you manage the resource allocation or balance the resource allocation between this kind of a discovery, very risky products versus revenue generating, like a pure business type of a products? How do you kind of balance the resource generation? Because this is a very common challenge for many companies to balance between innovation and the business. You know, what's your way of dealing with that?
Oh, I have an analogy, or sorry, this is strategy is this is what I believe. If your technology or your capability is truly good, you should be able to develop more than one product. Right? You should be.
When you say, Dr. Liu, when you say one or two product, are you talking about the revenue generation products?
No, I'm talking about cancer drugs, cancer treating drugs.
Okay, the discovery type
the discovery engine. You should be able to discover multiple good drugs, promising drugs, and so then to do this, you should be able to out-license and sell some of them to big pharmas. I'm against setting up two separate teams. Oh, one is focused on R&D, the other is focusing on the revenue side. No, this is you lose your efficiency. All years, I still believe you have to have the one team focus on doing the same technology, same concept, similar, except you're so efficient, so productive, you can produce multiple products, and you can sell some of your products to big companies or to the market or go IPO, so that you have money back to support your remaining product development.
But still, when you have one team doing these different product lines, one is for revenue generation, the other one is for discovery. Do you kind of balance the resource allocation, like a time, allocated for these different purposes?
No, this is kind of I may be a little bit. Let me explain it. So our model is, same team. For example, in those 2008 those crises, yes, we're generating revenue, but my team, my scientists, I have no revenue team. I have no commercial team. People, you just have two jobs. But I told them, in your everyday action, you're doing the same thing. It's just part of it is we're doing it for other people so that we get paid. But the actual experiment you do is the same. Doesn't matter it's for our own drug development or for other people's revenue drug development projects. Your action is the same. You just work harder, work more efficiently. Yeah. So hope this. Maybe my another way. We're all cooking at home to feed ourselves. You just cook a bigger portion. You cook a few more dishes that you can sell. Yeah. That way, the motion is the same. Your efficiency is still there. You just work a little bit harder so that you have extra dishes cooked, so you can generate revenues. That's kind of our strategy and philosophy.
How to manage the risks of our clinical trial products.
As your company is kind of doing two clinical trial programs, which is exciting, first of all, best wishes to your product. Hope they are successful, because it's not only financial, but I think it's also helping people, right? So, but from business perspective, do you have any kind of plan? Because these are trial programs, you have no control about the results and when the result will come. So from financial perspective, do you have any kind of a plan or strategy to ensure the financial stability or healthiness of the company in case the trial products encounter some kind of uncertainties or setbacks?
Right. So first, let me step back and explain the business model of drug R&D company. It's very different.
Results of the product, the clinical trial results.
I think it's very different from other industries. Other industry, you develop a product. The big question is can you sell that product? Would the market accept your product, right?
Yeah.
So drug R&D, when we go through discovery, clinical phase 1, 2, 3, That's a different game. The game is you don't have a product. You're not selling your product at that point because you are still trying to get you're walking through the FDA approval process.
Right.
But what is the game? Why are you doing this? It's you are by going down that line down the road, you are increasing the probability of success of your drug.
Right.
So it's a game of confidence kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, your discovery phase, no matter how good your discovery phase drug candidate is, people give you 10-20% chance of success. After phase 1, you say they give you 30% chance. After phase 2, 50%. After phase 3, 80%. So that's kind of how that's a value increase or appreciation is a probability of success game. Okay. So given that, so because of that, you can't wait till your drug, because then we are facing two. Actually, every step we go, either it fails, then the probability goes to 0, or it goes up, right? Then you have to almost like you playing a poker game in a casino. You have to know when is time to out license, find a partner who can actually shoulder you the risks associated with this process. This partner could be a big pharma, or it could be an IPO.
I see. Now I understand the logic. Basically, when you say license, you kind of just work with the others. They invest in your technology, then help you to continue this clinical or searching process, clinical process.
That's right. Increase the probability of success process.
The myth of AI impact on drug discovery, our real story.
Impact of AI in the pharmaceutical industry. And obviously, a lot of people talking about the impact of AI on the drug discovery.
Yeah.
So what's your view about the real AI impact on the pharmaceutical industry?
My view is not the mainstream. I'm a minority view.
That's why I want to hear it.
I actually think AI will have very little impact on drug discovery, and not within the near term. But AI, I think, can help speed up or save lots of money in the drug development process, on the paperwork, on the regulatory affairs, on the data analysis, clinical trial design. That's all in the drug development phase. I think that's AI can really help. Yeah. So
why you do not think AI will have major impact on drug discovery, which tends to be the conventional view?
Right. That's why I think that most of people talk about AI in drug discovery two times. One as a computer people, the other on the biology drug discovery side. They always talk to the professors. They don't talk to people who really do the drug discovery, right? If you observe, you will see who are the ones who talk. So those people, the big pharma talking head, the senior VP of whatever research, they like new ideas to generate, but they're not really talking to the day-to-day people who do it. Because drug discovery is a creative process. It's not it's a creative process, but itself is never a process. AI is really good. What is AI is based on what's known, right? But it's big data. They can come, but they're not a creative process. And I would say also lots of discovery is you have to think out of the box. Something nobody had thought before. Oh, I thought about this. Oh, I think let me give it a try. Then you have I call that discovery. That's totally go against the AI, the strengths of AI. AI is so maybe I use some jargon. Drug discovery is 0 to 1 process.
Yeah.
Drug development, I think AI is best to help from 1 to 100. That's what AI can do. but not 0 to 1. That's not their job. They're not good at it. Yeah.
Just a further clarification. I saw some kind of articles talking about the AI's impact. They give examples. For example, they say AI can, amount, let's say, thousands or millions of different possible combinations, possible solutions. AI can find out a few, which is impossible for human beings. What takes extremely long time for human beings to find those combinations or solutions. So how do you respond to that kind of a argument?
I have two things. One, I tell you a story. It's a true story. Number one, that's not true. For example, when we screen an antibody, we have an antibody library that has a diversity of 10 to the 12th, 100 billion. And we can do the screening within 2 weeks. Even faster than the computation. And pick out the good candidate. Whatever those people say, those people don't work in the field. That's really, I don't think they have a really good understanding of the current technology. Having said that, so 2 years ago, because you remember 2 years ago there was a big hype about deep mind. Able to compute the protein structure, they will be revolutionize the drug discovery. I actually I challenged them. I had a meeting with John Hennessy. John Hennessy is the current Google chairman, right? And former president of Stanford. He was a computer. He won the Turing Award in computer science, right? So I had a lunch with him. I would say we're acquaintances. I'm not a close friend, but we're close enough. I basically said, "Hey, John, given this, DeepMind is owned by Google." I said, "How about let's do a competition, more like an AlphaGo kind of game? You know AlphaGo, right? The computer versus the chess player. Remember that competition, right?" I said, "How about let's do a competition, an open competition in drug discovery? It's me. I will set up a research team. Your side is DeepMind." And already found a judge. I found Randy Schachman, the Nobel Prize winner of medicine from Berkeley, to be the judge. He agreed. He said, "I'll be the judge. Let's be objective. Set up a goal. Then both sides work. Then let's see who can find it faster, who can find a better drug." John says, "Cool, let's do it." Because he wrote to the CEO of DeepMind. He never got back to me. Because he can't do it. It's a hype. He can hype it. But when I called him bluff.
This is a great point. We definitely will publish this to demystify the AI impact on the drug discovery. It's a very interesting point. Thank you. But actually, you got a very good point. You say AI can help. I remember you mentioned about, for example, the regulatory work, which is a huge amount of paperwork. Any other areas you feel AI can truly help?
I think on data analysis.
What do you mean by that, data analysis?
Because these days, when you have a clinic, when you a patients get so many different tests. Have if you do an annual checkup, you will see it's all pile of test results. Now it's all human reading it, right? So page by page, I think that sometimes we don't have a sharp eye as a computer. Computers can base on to me that's data, and that's big data, large data, especially when you have hundreds of thousand patients. Those clinical data, the AI can help find something that we humans may miss. So that's what I like about AI application. One is on regulatory, on dealing with paperwork. The other is really help us analyze the data, clinical data. which you can mountains high.
How Chinese philosophy guided our drug development.
Do you think your Chinese or Asian cultural heritage influence or affect the ways you approach, you manage your new venture companies? If so, how?
I think it's in a very big way. I think in a very big way. I think in two ways I think about. One is it's really helped me my thinking of cancer. How to find a cure of cancer. I think
interesting. What do you mean? What do you mean? Why the Chinese or Asian culture can influence the way you think about these product or business problems?
Yes. So first, let's talk the Western culture, the Western medicine. What is Western medicine? Western medicine is based on modern science, right? You break down the problem into individual factors, find the logic among them, right? We call it reductionism. And then you build the ground up, right? Then you identify a specific factor, specific gene, specific cell type, whatever, to modify. That's the way of thinking, right? The Chinese way or the Oriental way is more holistic. Look at this whole problem as a one big problem, whole. And it's always, we always kept saying, oh, it's very complicated. That's a very Asian way of thinking. But one way you can say that's include. Another way you can say you look at things in the bigger picture, in the system kind of way approach. Then in the Chinese medicine, we always say, oh, you have to your own body, boost your own body to deal with your own disease, right? That's kind of the Chinese way, medicine way thinking. So the Western medicine way is I develop a drug, a chemical or whatever. I give it to you. That particular drug, a molecule, will treat your disease, will cure your problem, right? But cancer, because it's so complicated, you have to really merge the two. And what is that direct consequence or result of that is years ago, I figured out the best way to treat cancer is how you can mobilize the patient's own immune system to fight its own cancer. But in the Western science tool. But the concept is the Oriental or Chinese thinking. It's Chinese.
Yeah, actually, I was about to ask you. That's great. So, could you kind of explain it again, actually, how you are this kind of a Chinese or Asian culture holistic view influence the way you approach your products or your product development?
It's very important. That's actually guided Eureka to where we are today. The approach. So I said the Chinese way always think about human body is a big system, very complex, very complicated system. So I reach out this conclusion is that today, given all our human collective knowledge of our human body, we probably know about 10%. Right?
Oh,
hey, come on! We only know a little bit, right? We don't know everything. We know 10% is maybe already too much. 10%. If you ask a biologist, we know. I mean, know everything all the way down to molecular level. 10% maximum. Then, how much do we really understand cancer? Maybe at most 10%. When you combine the two, the product of this two ignorance, you probably totally have 1% knowledge, right? About really what's going on in cancer, right? How can you solve a problem, find a solution based on what you know, 1% of a problem, and find a solution? I said, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I think this is what differentiates us from computer people, from other industries. Computer people, they know everything about the computer. Every parts is human put in. Every computer code, they have it. We don't. We are basically blind people. We're blind. My seminar, I always use a blind man and an elephant as my opening slide. We don't never believe in expert. Any expert comment they understand. Those are people are, exactly. We don't. We are blind when we deal with such a complex problem like cancer. So you can't solve a problem based on what you know because you simply know too little.
Okay.
That's my Chinese way of thinking. Then the second part of Chinese way of thinking is we always believe cancer is a problem within our own body. Our body should know the best to how to deal with it. They're now not being able to deal with it is they have some defects. Know most of it, but they have some problems that they are not being able to deal with their own problem, just like any social ills, right?
Right.
We, as an outsider, to seeing a patient, if we can somehow help the patients to mobilize or enhance their immune system, their own body, then they can best treat their own cancer. That's my guiding principle, guiding philosophy of treating cancer. Actually, funnily, that's how I started many years ago. This today is being accepted, not me, this become a mainstream in the U.S. called cancer immunotherapy. God damn it. It's called cancer immunotherapy. What is cancer immunotherapy? Is using the upregulate immune system as a therapy for cancer. Today is already become a mainstream, only in the last 7-8 years.
Yeah. Dr. Liu, I would say, although you work in the pharmaceutical industry, but this kind of holistic view of the problem, and you only know a very tiny portion of it, it's very, very kind of applicable to many business problems. I think this is a great point. But you give us great example for the cancer as a powerful example, but I think this does not, kind of limit to the pharmaceutical problem.
Right.
Almost all human problems have this.
I agree, Roger. You're absolutely right. But we have to really be humble. And then you say, hey, I still want to solve the problem. So you say, where do I get the help? I realize I need to get the help from the patient immune system.
Right.
So that's how we started on this, where we are on the T-cell therapy. Why I realized the T-cell therapy, T-cell is the best tumor fighting machine is T-cell, it's immune cell. That's in the patient's own immune system. So, but I also realized that the Chinese way of thinking, holistic or system, is too vague. That's our problem. I think that's
a disadvantage in a sense.
It's a disadvantage. You have that, but it's a good way of thinking. In the end, you have to really settle down using the Western science and technology and develop something very tangible, very controllable to do it, right? To achieve your goal.
What my journey taught/changed me as an entrepreneur.
Do you have any kind of memorable lessons or mistakes, from your a long journey of the entrepreneur that you would like to share? Because I always find those mistakes are, very, very interesting for people to learn.
Yeah, I would say as a farmer, I've been doing lots of research. Our company the business could have been more successful. Business could be more successful. Several chances for the company to be more successful in business, but I missed those windows, opportunities. I think that is a big lesson. I think I put too much emphasis or priority on science, technology, on the drug development part. I want, because I'm so arrogant, so committed to finding a cure of cancer, I didn't put enough weight or importance of business success. I should have.
So that's a big lesson.
I could have and should have.
Okay. That's good. So relating to this, relating to this question, could you elaborate your change from the early days, almost like, the difference between inexperienced, naive Dr. Liu in the early years versus today, very experienced, wise Dr. Liu in building new venture companies? What would be the difference if you just a comment on those changes of your personal journey dealing with the managing or building the new venture company?
I think this, first of all, you have to start from yourself. I think my biggest change is twofold. One is you really need to know your weakness
Mm.
and accept it and be comfortable with it. That since you can't do it, that you suck. In those sense.
Mm.
And so you accept it. You be more humble about it. In my early days, I feel like I can do anything. I'm good at everything. I can do anything. No, it's not true.
Mm.
Certain things you're just not good at, and you don't like to do, and you also have blind spots. So I think that's the biggest change of is really see your weakness, what you're not good at, and also knowing your limit, things that you can do. There is a limit to everything, to everybody, and you have to know where is your limit. I think finally I see I'm a defective in multiple ways. So now I understand. So, but because of that, you're actually feeling more comfortable and more confident on what you're good at. Right. So then because of this, then after this, you focus on doing what you're good at. And then find team player, teammates, people you can work with, and companies you can partner with, or institutions you can collaborate with to really make up your deficits.
Yeah.
But the first part is pretty hard for me to, especially people like us to say, oh, you suck at this. You're just bad in this. Accepting that is a very painful process.
I think that's very, very good. So in other words, actually understand your weakness. And I think that makes a lot of sense, especially this kind of a reflection is very valuable for young entrepreneur,
right?
Who tend to be hungry, edgy,
And and too arrogant. But you see through, oh, you can, but their weakness, other people can see. 旁观者清, right? People can see.
Right.
It doesn't really help if you don't see your own problem.
Lesson: transition from a scientist to a business leader.
The transition from being a scientist, actually you are still a scientist, a great scientist, to like a business people, because you have to wear two hats, especially in company. So what's your journey? What's your lesson of making that kind of transition from passionate scientist to become, as a business person, running a company, being responsible for the well-beings of your companies as well as the employees?
I think in my heart, I think in practice, I'm still a scientist. My big joy working is actually work with the research team, working on the problems in science and technology. That's more like my best, happiest time at work in the company. But I think my biggest change is I realize that you need money to support research, to support science and technology. Get real, you have to. And how do you get money? It's not like I'm asking money from my parents. They will give you money because they love you, or you're getting something from the government, or they give you because you're doing something good for the humankind. No, those things don't happen. It's not, as running a company means you're getting money from strangers, right? That's my first, my transition is realize that. How you make that, the only way you can get money is you really need to convince people, get the money. That's the mandate. It's your job. You're the CEO. It's not being the CSO. Your job is to bring money to the company. And how you can bring money to the company? You really have to convince people. You have to build the company. You have the business model, and you have to really convince people to say, other people can make lots of money by investing in your company. That is my biggest realization. And then you have to really understand what people are looking for. You have to, talk to lots of people, take lots of shit from the real world to understand. Yeah.
That's great.
The how part. First, I realized what you have to do. Then the how part is actually easier to me once I understand the importance.
Okay. Actually, my last question, you already mentioned, how do you manage your employee? Because these are very different people. And, most of them are experts, researchers, right?
Yeah.
So what, it's relating to the leadership's kind of style. What's your unique perspective? Not necessarily managing, maybe just work with these scientists, the researchers as your employee.
Number one, I keep a very flat structure. Also, I also demand my scientists to be bench workers, to work on the front line. I push every one of my people to be in the front line. At the beginning, they resisted because they say, hey,
when you say, Dr. Liu, when you say front line, what do you mean by that?
Meaning that I ask my senior scientists to do manual experiments, to do experiments themselves. In the other companies, they would have technicians doing work, experiments for them. They will be sitting in the office, reading literatures, analyzing, making proposals, I say, no, I want you to spend most of your time on the bench doing experiment yourself, in your own hands. But of course, at the same time, I'm sorry, you still have to read literatures and do data analysis and make presentations. That's how but now they all love it. They all love it because they keep them real too. So also, I think a very important thing is when you make it very clear, finding a cure of cancer is our goal here.
Yeah.
Everything geared towards that, we all become humble. There's no ego involved. I think the ego is the biggest problem in running a company. That's my personal opinion. It's especially for a small company. Many of my friends I also overheard say, "Oh, you're the founder, you're the CEO. Oh, you just hire people to do work for you." I say, no, that's just so wrong. You have to do everything. You have to also, if you do this, you make your middle management, senior science do everything. All together, you're one team. You don't have that separation of, because I'm a founder, so I only do certain things, I don't do certain things. Once you have that, you become a mini big company culture. Right. Because of that, everybody can say, Cheng, you're full of shit, your idea doesn't work. I say, okay, tell me why.
Makes sense.
I would defend my idea to the death. And if they're right, I accept. So I think that's kind of because we're all trying to solve a problem much bigger than us as individuals. Then there's no ego, right? When you have a closed system, you have ego, you have hierarchy. When you have a more like open because of the cancer is a common enemy, then you unite. That's how I unite people.
That's great. Actually, this kind of philosophy probably works especially well for researchers, for educated people, because they are respect, and they are factual driven, data driven kind of people, right?
Yes.
Challenges of Chinese entrepreneurs in the U.S. and advice.
It's from, managing or dealing with entrepreneur new ventures. You talk about the benefits. So from cultural perspective, do you also feel advantages or benefits, as well as the disadvantage or the drawbacks of, as an entrepreneur, dealing with the new startup companies?
Let me first see the drawbacks. Drawbacks in the U.S. As a Asian American or at least Chinese American entrepreneur, you got the short end of both worlds. You know what I'm talking about. In the U.S., we're a minority. We're not belong to the old boys club or the Jewish club. We don't get the benefit of those support. So it's very hard for us to get into their club, their doors. So you don't get much help. Yeah. Given now the geopolitical tension, it just makes things 10 times worse. But at the same time, I'm not getting benefit from China either. But people say, Cheng, if you come back, hey, you can be a national hero. The whole country, the whole government can just show you as much money you want, as much people you want. So many of my friends went back and got all those benefits. I didn't. So I'm saying it's a disadvantage of both ends. So.
Right, that is true. But actually, do you also think, on the other hand, like following the double-edged sword philosophy, the Asian culture, actually has some kind of benefits for entrepreneurs, for Asian entrepreneurs when they pursue their startup dreams, actually.
Yes. I think we yes, I said the shortcoming, but I'm very proud of being an Asian American entrepreneur, very proud of it. And my goal is I'm going to prove it. We can be successful against all odds in biotech. That's kind of my ambition and my commitment.
Right. So actually relating to this, let's say, what's your advice to, let's say, younger entrepreneurs, especially, let's say, Asian young entrepreneurs? Hey, actually, I went through this journey, but here's my advice, as an Asian entrepreneur, do you have any kind of advice?
You have to accept who you are. In the end, if they accept you, they have to accept you as an Asian American.
Thank you for watching.